CitizenU.org presents The 12.
We're the two teachers.
And we are here to deliberate, to cram for your exam in 12 easy sessions.
Today's finding, FRQ question number 3, Supreme Court case comparison.
Here we go. The 4 FRQs on your AP government test are prescribed. 1 is a concept application, 2 is a quantitative analysis, and 3, a SCOTUS comparison. SCOTUS, Supreme Court of the United States. Here we go. Bring the cases in.
So you should have been provided, we have discussed here on the 12, the 15 Supreme Court cases that essentially are mandated, that are required for you to understand. So in this question number 3, they'll provide an excerpt, a summary of a case you've never read about.
Wait, what?
You've never read
It
about. It
won't be from the 15?
But that case that has a short summary of the case will be connected to one of the 15 cases. And so the first point on this rubric, it's a 4-point rubric, will always be asking you to find that, essentially, that area of similarity or difference between the case that's summarized that you don't know about and one of the 15 that you do.
So like a constitutional principle shared by both. So if I know what one of the 15 cases, let's just say the case is Gideon, and I know the Gideon case is about selective incorporation, then they give me an excerpt from the Gitlau case. I may not know the Gitlau case, but I know Gideon is about incorporation, so Gitlau is also about incorporation. So I need to know a defining constitutional principle for each of the 15 cases. If so, this question becomes in my wheelhouse.
Right, particularly for point number 1 in letter A.
Wait, how many points are there?
There are 4 points.
Wait, 4 points. And this one is also worth 12.5% of the total test?
12.5% of the total test.
I got to crush this.
Yeah. So, you want to talk about letter B?
Well, in addition then to the 1 point of finding the constitutional principle, then I've got to compare the 2 cases, the one that I know with the one that I don't know. The case that I don't know, the context will be inside the excerpt. The case that I'm supposed to know, I know that. So now I've got to talk about the similarities between Gideon and Gitlau and how a particular law, a particular right, has been applied to the states now because that's selective incorporation.
Make sure, like we've been telling you with question 1 and 2, make sure you go back to the excerpt and make sure you reference that excerpt in your comparison. And when you're asked to explain how or explain why, make sure you are full with your explanation by including a causal statement. Because, due to, therefore, something to indicate explanation.
Be redundant in using the case names. In Gitlau v. New York, Bing. Whereas in Gideon v. Wainwright, Bing.
That's a good point.
Did I say in Gitlau, Bing? Because that means in Gideon, Bing is different.
Make sure you're
Redundant.
really explicit with which case you're referencing in that similarity or that comparison and the explanation.
And that's the first 3 points. The 4th point, Andy, will ask us to apply that principle to something else, probably.
Right. And this is what we call the curveball.
Yeah.
There'll be some kind of explanation. Again, use a causal statement in your explanation. And our tip that we give to our students, particularly when it gets a curveball, it's a little bit trickier, try to write a lot. Write a lot, elaborate about what you know about that concept. Make sure there's a causal statement in there, and don't be afraid to write a lot about that concept.
When writing an FRQ this year, think less, ink more. Articulate your A, B's, and C's, space in between, be redundant on the vocabulary. Woo! We're the two teachers. No fancy words.
No fancy suits.
Plain talk about issues you need to know.
Just in time.